Here we are, Location Luxe. I'm your host, Alan Canas, and here in Season 1, we'll be focused on what we're calling the Great Lifestyle Migration. On each episode, I'll be right here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Over the last few decades, we've witnessed a great migration for employment and technology development. As such, the need and demand for homes has been among the highest in the country. These migration choices are giving people an extraordinary opportunity to explore new locations, amenities, and lifestyle options. And that's why we're here. Location Luxe. This week, I'm so flattered to have David V. Johnson on our show, direct from Oil Nut Bay, the British Virgin Islands. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thrilled to be here.
We know that the British Virgin Islands is so much more than a destination location. It is truly a beautiful, gorgeous lifestyle. Would you please tell us a little bit about you and about your business?
So my professional career is as a real estate developer, and I've developed 40 communities over 40 years. 40 years ago, I broke my neck and was paralyzed from the shoulders down. And that puts money, God, and friends in perspective real quick. And so I decided, instead of doing volume, that I would do one of a kind, one at a time, generational lifestyle communities in harmony with nature. So we really decided that we wanted to find a place to live in the Caribbean where we would spend the rest of our life.
David, could you tell me why you and Pam picked the British Virgin Islands?
So we ended up with the British Virgin Islands being the perfect place because of the usability of the water, the stability created by the British government, and the fact that the financial services industry was here, which created the fact that the country was extremely successful and there had been no new development in almost 30 years. So it truly is a destination where the world's most successful people are coming here, and a magnificent neighborhood that we've chosen to be part of. I buy land by what I call the Flutter Method, and that's when my heart pounds out of my chest. I gotta have it, and I figure out all the obstacles.
David, let's talk about the Flutter Method. I buy things on the Flutter Method as well. Virgin Gorda and Tortola. Tortola I've been to many, many years ago. Let's talk about the shopping.
Well, what we're into selling is shopping for real estate, shopping for your forever home. And the Flutter Method is the spectacular physical beauty that's contained in the BVI, with sheer rock cliffs on one side and beautiful beaches on the other, and really raw land, because the BVI is underdeveloped compared to any other country. So our owners can go online and shop any place in New York, Amazon, or whatever for goods. But when they're shopping here, they're shopping for a home where they can come, bring their family, and live in harmony with nature. And we've got the best.
It sounds like it. How is the access with flights and boating there?
What makes the BVI historically unique is it's the world's best boating. Going all the way back to the pirate days of the Sir Francis Drake Channel, because it's in a protected archipelago. So 50% of our owners have never been boating before, go out and buy a boat, and Oil Nut Bay is their home base. And then they go out and have lunch at a different island and come back and safely boat. It's the world's best sailing. From an air access standpoint, any kind of private jet can fly directly into Lutzum Airport, which is Beef Island, which is connected to Tortola. Commercial flights fly into St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, St. Martin, and Antigua, and then come over in a connecting flight. The BVI is about to extend its own new runway and have direct flights from New York, Charlotte, Atlanta, and St. Thomas on American and Delta, which will be a game changer.
David, thank you. And David, where are most of your buyers coming from?
So our buyers are global, 1/3 from outside the United States, 2/3 inside the United States. Kind of 1/3 are 45 and under with small kids. 2/3 are 45 to 85 with kids and grandkids. And they're mainly coming from the Midwest and East Coast, but we do have buyers from California and Texas, and we're starting to see a lot more of that now because especially in the summertime when it's 100 degrees in Texas, June and July, it's 80 to 82 degrees here because your natural air conditioner is the ocean. 2 miles away from on the bay, the ocean's 2 miles deep. And so the water temperature is always 80 to 82 degrees, 26 degrees centigrade. And as long as there's 10-mile-an-hour breeze, the air temperature is 80 to 82. So you have a natural air conditioner, which is perfect for 10 months a year.
That makes it terrific. What are the seasonal activities? We know that there's boating and swimming. What else do you have?
Well, we have the world's best kiteboarding. And we've had the World Championship kiteboarding here. We have phenomenal scuba diving, snorkeling, all types of water activities.
Oh, that's terrific. David, I know many of the watchers are going to be asking this question. What are the taxes like there?
So 450,000 corporations are located in the BVI because there are no taxes. The simple fact is your real estate taxes on a $5 million house are less than $1,000 a year. So there's no income tax. There's no, if you rent your home, there's a 10% rental tax. There's no capital gains tax and no estate tax. And so, there's really no taxes. There's a 12% acquisition tax on land when you buy and when you sell.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. David, can you tell me what the culture's like? I know it's been changing through the years. So your downtown is growing a little bit more, but the restaurants, the golfing, the resorts, and are the schools changing for people with younger kids? Do you have a younger community moving in?
So what's interesting is the first part of the culture is the BVI people themselves are fantastic. And we're so proud to live in harmony and be a part of the greater community and continue to do what we can to improve quality of life and get our worker base from the greater community. Culture is based on land, water, and we don't want a private club. We want to be home base so that you go out every day and go boating, 45-minute helicopter ride to St. Bart's and go for lunch, but coming back home because we have the best value and the best restaurants is what it's all about. Health is what we focus on quality of food, yoga, and everything that's a part of Walnut Bay.
It sounds wonderful. David, are you seeing inventory changing in the BVI as far as multiple offers? And how is that changing?
Well, that's interesting. COVID has accelerated everything by at least 10 years. And we've seen our buyers go to 10 to 15 years younger and are saying, Why wait? We've sold our last 5 sales online.
And David, what are you seeing with appreciation year after year?
2010, there was nothing here. Now we have 1 gig of fiber. We have fiber through our roads. I've put in $150 million of infrastructure. I have no debt and no partners. We have 40 homeowners that have put in $400 million of built homes. We now have 70% of them are in rental management, so there are places for people to come and stay. So we really think it's time to tell the world.
David, can you tell me your favorite buyer story?
A gentleman walked in and to my office and said, "My wife likes Peninsula 9. I've never been to the BVI before, and you have one shot to give me your best price." I said, "Well, the lot is listed for $12.9 million. It's worth $12.9 million. He said, "You didn't hear me. One chance, best price." I said, "Well, 3 lots away, one of my best friends built his home and bought the lots on each side of him for $9.9 million. I'll give you the same price that I sold to him, so $9.9 million. He said, "I'll either never see you again or I'll let you know in an hour." So an hour later, I was in another meeting in my office. He knocked on the back glass door of my office, waved for me to come to the door. I walked outside. He extended his hand and he said, "The money's in the bank. You have a deal." That's my favorite buyer story.
I sailed virtually all of the Virgin Islands and many parts of the Caribbean. A friend of ours who owns a dive shop on St. John took us on a boating excursion and said, "We got to show you something," and brought us over to Oilnet Bay.
So the moment we stepped on the dock at Oilnet Bay put a spell on me, and every moment after that was never a disappointment.
I'm here with a special person in a special place.
David, thank you so much for being on this week's episode of Location Luxe.
Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Tour. Energized by a passion to push the boundaries of excellence, beauty, and innovation, for over 50 years, Eldorado Stone has been creating stone veneer that incorporates yet modernizes those qualities first produced by Mother Nature. The focus of the brand is on humanizing spaces and accentuating the connection between the built environment and the outside world. And with their deep understanding of the latest market trends, Eldorado Stone is crafting products right here in the United States to fit the needs of you, the designer. With me today to discuss the brand is Sarah LaGrasso, Director of Marketing and Product Design. Welcome, Sarah. It's really lovely to have you today.
Thank you, Helene. So happy to be here.
So we are here today to talk stone, and that's veneer, of course. And I'm not sure if everyone is actually familiar with the Eldorado brand. And I would love if you could provide us with just a little insight into the history and the mission of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Eldorado Stone is a national brand. We've been around for over 50 years. Previously known for the most believable architectural stone veneer, and our latest push has really been, like you're saying, to kind of humanize the brand, really accentuate the spaces where we work, play, and live every day.
So you've been with the company for the last 15 years, and given your role leading product design, of course, you've always stayed on top of the latest market trends. And I really would love to hear from you. How have you seen the needs of the designer really change during that time period at the company?
So I think, design is always ever changing and evolving, and you're seeing the shifts in design styles, you're seeing the natural shifts that occur in color palettes, but we're also seeing, I think, the shift in how people are living in these spaces every day, and the activities and kind of the personalities that are coming out in those spaces are being much more incorporated into the design as well. So of course we're seeing natural shifts with styles and profiles and textures and color palettes, but we're also seeing a much bigger push of personalizing a space and making it, more comfortable or inviting to that person that's living in that space day to day.
Well, with your product, of course, there's really no better source of inspiration than Mother Nature. So would you say that you're really capturing what the best she has to offer and modernizing it?
I think we are. I think I'm confident to say that. I think the human spirit has a natural tendency to seek connections with Mother Nature and want to be surrounded by it. I think Eldorado Stone as a brand, as a company, does our best to replicate the natural textures and the nuances and the characteristics that come from Mother Nature. And then when getting into, developing the color palettes, Mother Nature is the best source of inspiration for that. And we try to incorporate those into the color development. With the design trends kind of evolving and changing to some of these lighter and brighter color palettes, we're not chasing just monochromatic colors. There's natural undertones and currents of accent colors that are subtly involved in the overall color development that still allows the profile to have some movement, some depth, and give it a much more relevant appearance when incorporating it into your design today.
So I would love to know, because especially as we're talking how you're developing these color palettes and of course the texture profiles, beyond Mother Nature, do you have other sources of inspiration that you really look to that really helps with that development?
Absolutely. There's inspiration everywhere. It could be a piece of art. It could be, absolutely a natural element that we may find outside. It could be, a material, a textural material that has a beautiful color palette or a beautiful, sheen or something to it that we're going to pull from it. We found inspiration based on, personality traits that come through some of these designers or within the A&D community that we collaborate with. So all of that, I think, lends itself into the development and kind of inspiration of products that we're developing.
So, speaking to the A&D community, which you're very well connected with, have you found, especially in this last year, that conversations that you're having with designers and really what their needs are have changed?
Absolutely. I think if we're addressing potentially this last year, post-pandemic, I think a lot of the changes that are occurring are surrounding the form and functionality of your design in your space. You have a lot more layered elements that are happening when you're talking about, work and play all in the same environment. So I think a multifaceted design is what we're seeing kind of come through when people are looking to how do I design an office that can also be used for, potentially online learning, or how do I do a living room that can also accommodate, X, Y, Z, other elements that would be pulled into it. So I think some of the shifts that we're seeing are a multifunctional role in spaces, either how to create some separation within those spaces, how to create definition between those spaces. So I think some of those shifts we're seeing, and, we're certainly looking, to create products, in a sense of what's happening right now where, stress may be overmounting. We're looking to develop products that when incorporated into your space can bring you a sense of calm, potentially a sense of sanctuary, open up, you know, a brighter, airier kind of color palette that might make you feel a little fresh or clean. You know, I think we're seeing little bits of that kind of shift where it's not so centrally focused just on the product itself, but more of how that product is integrated into the overall design of the environment.
So, you know, it's come up a couple of times now in the conversation, but of course, sort of one trend that we've been seeing definitely over the last year across a lot of different categories, especially in architectural materials, is this like this shift to whiter, brighter tones. And so like, how are you seeing how that's being incorporated to some of your newer products, two of which are Grand Banks Limestone and Loire Valley Rough Cut?
Absolutely. We've seen that shift coming down the pipeline for a few years. And it's actually, I mean, it hasn't gone away. If anything, it's gotten stronger. I think there's, you know, a natural appeal to something that has a brighter color palette that can reflect light. It can make a space feel bigger, it can make a space feel airier, you know, maybe a little lighter, maybe a little cleaner. It certainly creates a beautiful backdrop to other accents or elements that are going to be involved in that space to let some of those, you know, furniture pieces or art pieces still take center stage. You know, you're referencing the Grand Banks Limestone and the Loire Valley Rough Cut. Those are products that what we were seeing is there was an uptick in a need to want to incorporate traditional stone shapes such as those. Those are typically traditional stone shapes. And what the designers were looking for is a modernized color palette. So we created these lighter, you know, kind of airier color palettes that are not flat white. They have accents, they have grays and rust and, you know, a little bit of, you know, blondes that are integrated into it so that it doesn't feel so flat. You absolutely still have that tactile appeal, you know, that's going to come through with the textures and the color palette as a whole. So it's, you know, aiding in kind of that overall aesthetic of that environment.
So white is not just white anymore. So how are you able to really create that depth of color though? So that even that one can't even find in Mother Nature herself?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the craftsmen that are on our team that are part of the color development, you know, the process is it's layers and layers of coloring within our products. So it's not like you're saying, it's not just a flat white. It's not just white as white. You know, there's accents and undertones of other colors that are layered on the products. And what that does as a whole, it allows your eye to kind of move across the installation or the application and kind of pick up on some of those nuances. And it helps to kind of create a little bit more of a story. It helps to create some depth, a little bit of personal characterization that you would find in a natural material.
And I'm just curious because, you know, our audience are designers and designers love process. So how long does it take to really develop something like those deep tones and shifts in color that you can find in the limestone and rough cut?
You know, I mean, it takes months and months of development. You know, there are some times where we're much more successful at hitting the colors that we want. There's other times that we need to trial until, you know, we as a team feel that we've got it right. But I mean, I think for us, when we know we've got it right, it's a much faster, easier process. There's limits that we have with replicating Mother Nature. You know, we certainly strive to get as close as we can to some of the natural colors that you will find, but we're also pushing the boundaries a little bit with some of these more modern and contemporary colors that you may not find exactly the same in Mother Nature, but to try and meld some of these color palettes together is what is helping us kind of modernize, you know, true color palettes that you would find out in Mother Nature with still hints and touches of contemporary palettes that we would see or we would want to see in design spaces.
So I really love this like sort of dichotomy then that you're producing. So if you're thinking about Grand Banks Limestone and the Loire Valley Rough Cut, which you spoke about a little bit, is like maybe they're more traditional texture profiles, but then you're taking these really modern color palettes and sort of bringing it together to make it much more contemporary, sort of for, you know, obviously for modern day settings.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, there is definitely a need for that we see from the design community, that they want to be able to incorporate a natural material. And I think stone is one of the best materials to incorporate into your space. But, you know, you may not want your clean lines, you know, potentially if it's coming off either a little too contemporary or a little too cold, they still want some of that warmth that they would find from a natural material, or even just some of the character that you would find in the shapes and textures of it. The limestone and the rough cut are beautiful examples of a very traditional profile. And we were seeing that the more that we were kind of toying with the idea of these lighter, brighter, more modern color palettes, it really started to resonate with that design community. And we were having designers take some of our older profiles and they were whitewashing over top of it because they still wanted that look of that traditional stone, but they just needed a brighter color palette. So, I mean, we've had beautiful inspiration from the design community has led us to this collaboration of some of the new products. And I think, you know, I think it absolutely will be a trend that continues forward.
So something else you really touched on earlier in the conversation was this idea of well-being. And certainly there's been a greater emphasis on health and wellness of inhabitants within a space. And with that comes sort of this push for biophilia and how it's become an even more important design tool that's being utilized with interiors. So obviously, I know you speak a lot about sort of these benefits of incorporating biophilic design within an environment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that topic specifically, I am so eager to speak about. I think I'm really drawn to it because it has such a personal and humanized kind of sentiment to it. We all love being surrounded by nature. I think, you know, if you were to ask yourself when you're walking on a beach, how does that make you feel? When you are on vacation and you're in the mountains, how do you feel? I think there's indirect natural biology that's happening to us that creates a calm, creates a, you know, a sense of happiness. You know, does it reduce your stress? Do you feel, you know, like you've created a sanctuary? And I think taking all of those benefits and being able to incorporate that into your day-to-day environment where it may feel a little bit more hectic, a little bit more chaotic. I think having somewhere that you can retreat back to, or even having something that's tactile where if you rub your hands on it, you know, do you have this pinch of nostalgia that may happen that brings you back to a vacation? Or, you know, does the color palette, you know, kind of just make you feel good or fresh? Or, you know, I think the biophilic subject it's absolutely more important now than I think than ever before. We're a little bit more kind of stuck in our homes and stuck in our spaces. And so to be able to take the outdoors and bring them in and have them provide true benefit to you in your everyday space, I think is extremely valuable.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm going to get limestone or rough cut because, you know, don't we all want to be like in Europe right now?
Exactly.
Travel. But no, and I love this idea that you keep on coming back to, which is this idea of sanctuary, especially given the fact that, you know, our homes have become so multifaceted, multifunctional, and it's like, you need to work, you need to live and play, like you said, but like, where's our time for like that sort of mental and physical and emotional rest?
Right.
Because it's absolutely necessary for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was an article that I was reading that was talking about kind of the psychology of cladding in your space. And it was saying, you know, with technology now, you know, we're on computers, we're on cell phones. I mean, your eyes are naturally so busy. Like you're saying, you have multi-layers of things that are happening on your everyday when you think of work and kids and life and things to do and whatnot. And this article was beautiful because it talked about giving your eyes relief and the trigger that it's almost like a snowball effect that when your eyes have relief, it is a trigger effect that can start to affect kind of your heartbeat, and it can start to, you know, create a calm within yourself. So, and again, that touches onto some of these cleaner, you know, more muted color palettes give a natural visual relief to your body. You know, some of these clean lines that you may see kind of come through give, again, just relief visually. And so I think, you know, some of those things absolutely are going to play a hand in design when people are, you know, creating beautiful new spaces. I think they're absolutely going to start looking to how can you create kind of this sanctuary or this retreat that you need to create in your own space.
No, I mean, I think we all can admit that we need a little respite from staring at technology, and like, what better? So of course, incorporating, you know, we've talked about for biophilia, there's the natural light that can help with that, but also so incorporating greenery like you have behind yourself, or stone, which we've touched on. But I know something, you know, I would love to let the audience know is, like, obviously your product offerings go well beyond the stone veneers, and you actually have great collections like something like Vintage Ranch, which celebrates the character of like the classic American barnwood, right? So it's right. Like there's a lot of different opportunities given what products Eldorado Stone has in your portfolio.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Vintage Ranch is the profile that we developed a few years ago, and it has been booming. You know, I mean, that barn, the farmwood kind of barn house look absolutely has been a trend, and it's beautiful. And we've continued to expand development on the Vintage Ranch profile. But again, yes, that's emulating a reclaimed barnwood look that you can incorporate into your space. And because it's produced out of a concrete material, it lends itself to more spaces that you can utilize it in, where you wouldn't necessarily be able to utilize, you know, wood within your spaces. So again, and you know, some of the characteristics that are captured within the Vintage Ranch are just stunning. You can literally run your hand across it. You can feel kind of the milling marks. You can capture some of the graining that's in it. It really is a spectacular product to incorporate into any spaces.
So it's interesting because the barnwood makes me think of this next topic that I really wanted to bring up, was because, you know, we're speaking about residential spaces, and they've really become highly personalized over time, especially in the last year, because I think we've spent just so much time at home. But you have this ethos that you really like to call, which is lived in luxury, which I think kind of feels like it ties into that barnwood kind of idea. And I would love to know what lived in luxury means to you.
For me, and this is probably strictly for me, and hopefully someone else resonates with this. I have 2 kids at home, and my job, my occupation is to develop products and develop things that are incorporated into, you know, beautifying or designing a space. And it's oftentimes difficult to balance having beautiful things with kids or with family, you know, and I think lived in luxury for me is being able to kind of capture both of that. I want to be able to be surrounded, you know, by luxurious elements that are able to kind of create a focal point or a showcase, you know, in my home, but I also need it comfortable enough to where I can live with my kids and I can live with family coming over and dogs. And so, you know, for me, lived in luxury is kind of the balance of both. It's the juxtaposition of having old and new into, you know, developed into the same space. It's taking a deeper dive into what are the textures and the materials that I want to, you know, utilize in my space. I don't want anything that is going to feel so cold or so stark or just too off limits to where it's so beautiful, but don't touch it. Or it's, you know, it was designed so well that I don't want to sit on it. I think lived in luxury is trying to harness both of those kind of ideas and bringing them together in the same space. So, you know, I think it's really about creating a space that works with you and works for your environment on a design side, but also making kind of the form and functionality of it work with your everyday so that you are able to enjoy the space that you just created at any point, you know, within your lifestyle.
I mean, I love the fact that it's like, it's nothing is too precious, right? And it's really about this idea of accessibility and comfort. But, you know, as I was sort of thinking about this idea, it made me think of like, is lived in luxury sort of the shabby chic of the 21st century?
Right. I mean, I think so. I think it is kind of your shabby chic. I think it's, It's absolutely, and this is just my, our coined term of it. It's not anything that, is out in the design world. It's just a different dialect that, we could put a name to. But absolutely, it's something that, I think more and more people are going to want to pursue, to be able to have nice things and have things that, shine and sparkle and make your place, everything you want it to be, but also carry that personalization into that space, because you have a life, you have things to do, you have, things that will happen in that space, and to be able to make that work in the same environment as where you're wanting to, create this beautiful artistic piece. I think it's really important to kind of marry both of those together.
So really, for designers to figure out how to really personalize either their spaces, of course, their clients, and to really simplify the specification process, you've created some really great useful tools to really help them figure out what is the best Eldorado product to fit their spaces.
Yeah, if you visit our website, eldoradostone.com, we have a variety of tools that designers or consumers can use. We've got a visualizer space, which is a visualizer tool that you can go in and you can use any of our existing environments, and you can play around with different products. You can also upload your own photo and then cast any type of products that you want in your space, so that you're able to really visualize what your space would look like in a different, a different variety of product options. We also have a ton of mood boards that can show different styling of how materials play together, how different color palettes may play together. And then we also have a very large library of inspiration images that can walk you through a variety of applications with a variety of products, so that you're able to get a sense of, what is attractive to you. And then once you drill down to kind of the product level, we also have a product selector that's on our website that you can click through and click into the style and get down to a category of style. You can click into the types of lines that you are looking to create in a shape, in a texture, and then you can pick your color palettes. And once you've kind of finished that questionnaire, it'll populate some options that are suited for the style or the inspiration that you're looking for. So a large variety of different tools that someone can use to kind of narrow in their focus on what they're looking for.
No, I mean, I love that you made it really simple, and especially offering a lot of the inspiration behind, so that the design community understands it. And something that, we should make very clear too, is that, we've really been speaking about residential spaces, but, you have tools and obviously products that actually span both from residential, obviously, to the commercial world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got content that is surrounding commercial applications that's showing, our products that is being used on larger applications within the hospitality world, within, the multifamily, within retail. I think we've got some great examples on there. And all of the tools that we're talking about can be used for both residential or commercial. So they still lend themselves to both, kind of applications. The inspiration gallery has a section on there that is strictly commercial focused. And we're always continuing to expand on that library to be able to show, people the diverse kind of collection of how you can use stone veneer in a project, both small and large, both, residential and commercial. So it's absolutely a growing asset that we'll continue to nurture.
That's great. Well, Sarah, obviously today was just only a little dive into the world of Eldorado Stone, but, I really would love to thank you obviously so much for your time and for the insight that you've provided. And of course, for our amazing, lovely audience out there, please make sure to check out the Eldorado Stone website to learn more about their products and of course, their inspiration and specification tools. Thank you.